After 18 long years, the classic zombie film finally has a sequel, and now the zombies have evolved to the point where they can marry and have children. The story continues from the previous installment. 28 years ago, the zombie virus ravaged mainland Britain, but since the UK had already left the EU and was isolated, European nations took the simplest and most brutal approach to combat the virus, completely isolating Britain and leaving it to perish on its own. Eventually, a group of survivors escaped to a small island not far from the mainland, saving themselves from certain doom. Our protagonist, a remarkably mature 12-year-old boy named Spike, was born here. His father, a bold and exceptionally skilled fighter, often ventured back to the mainland to scavenge supplies and was somewhat of a local celebrity. Spike's mother, often tormented by illness and delirium, was cared for by her father. One day, Spike's on Plex. With only 4 hours until high tide, they had to manage their time carefully. Otherwise, they would be trapped on the zombie-infested mainland. No rescue would be sent. The gate was opened, and they followed a path only exposed during low tide toward the mainland. But we can only hide at sea. Can we say we're hiding at sea? No, there's a phenomenon at sea that pushes us out, exposing us. Shortly after reaching the mainland, they encountered a slow-moving, bloated zombie, the lowest class of zombie to emerge after years of mutation. Bloated and filled with viruses and bacteria, it could only prey on small creatures. Under his father's guidance, Spike quickly came back as they withdrew. But this was Spike's first real combat. He was terrified and couldn't aim properly. Eventually, under his father's cover, they retreated to the previous house, pursued by the zombie horde. In a desperate move, they hid in the attic, narrowly escaping. With their options exhausted, they had to wait until high tide to return to. He was abruptly awakened by the sound of a horde passing by. The attic chimney was collapsing, forcing them to flee. The noise would surely attract alphas, and with low tide exposing the path, they had to return to the island immediately. They sprinted toward the path desperately. The father and son were hailed as heroes. The villagers held a welcome party where the father boasted extravagantly about their bravery and even secretly hooked up with a female admirer. Spike was disillusioned. Bragging and sleeping with fans? Was this the noble father he knew? He ran home, visited his mother, and told his grandfather about the campfire he saw. His grandfather immediately thought of an eccentric doctor he knew, but since his son-in-law didn't want to mention it, he stayed silent. Spike was conflicted. His father had always claimed all doctors died after the apocalypse, leaving his mother untreated. But there was a doctor. Was his father deliberately keeping it from her to facilitate his affair? Furious, Spike confronted his father. The response was that the strange doctor did exist, but practiced in bizarre ways, like arranging corpses in rows and burning them as if in a cult ritual, which was too eerie to engage with. But Spike, convinced this was an excuse to abandon his mother, broke ties with his father. He set fire to the bone storage, distracting the guards, and took his delirious mother to the mainland to find the doctor. Honestly, this kid is so reckless. Why burn the bone storage? In an apocalypse, such resources are precious. He's sabotaging the whole village. On the mainland, the mother and son trekked inland. By sheer luck, they made it safely until nightfall and took shelter in a church. The next morning, they found the corpse of a low-level zombie beside them. Unbeknownst to them, a zombie had attacked while they slept. Perhaps driven by maternal instinct, the mother awoke and killed it with her bare hands, but then slipped back into delirium, unaware of what happened. Spike had slept through it all. Soon after, they were spotted by a group of alphas. They fled to an abandoned supermarket for refuge. The stench inside was overwhelming, but it was too late to turn back. The zombies were upon them. Chaos erupted until a soldier appeared, shouting for them to take cover. 8 comrades made it ashore, only to be overwhelmed by zombies. He was the sole survivor. The trio journeyed deeper inland together, searching for the doctor. They then heard cries from the forest. Investigating, they found a feint attack. With the mother's help, she delivered what appeared to be a normal human baby. After childbirth, the zombie regained her instincts and attacked, prompting the soldier to kill her. He insisted the baby posed a zombie risk and should be eliminated, but the mother and son, seeing a normal infant, refused. The soldier gave them a final warning, but suddenly retreated, only to be ambushed and killed the next second. A massive alpha then began hunting the mother and son, especially after seeing the female zombie's body, seemingly her mate seeking revenge. Just as they were about to be killed, an old man appeared,
firing an arrow to subdue the Alpha. The old man explains that he is covered in a special ointment that isolates the virus, and the dart he shot earlier contained a tranquilizer. After saying this, he takes the soldier's head and prepares to leave. Upon hearing about the ointment and tranquilizer, little Mao immediately realizes as a memorial to the lost lives. He treats the soldier's head the same way, boiling it in a large pot until the flesh becomes soft and tender, leaving behind a clean white skull to become part of the tower. This reminds me of a certain animated series where the protagonist always shouts, "I'll turn it into a skull." I often wondered, why is it always you who gets to decide? Here, I finally see a world where everyone can become a skull.
That night, the doctor examines little Mao's mother and determines she has late-stage cancer, beyond any cure. Little Mao is devastated. He risked his life to bring his mother here, only to be told there's no hope. Who could bear such news? But his mother remains calm. The doctor administers an anesthetic to little Mao and gives his mother a euthanasia injection, ending her life. She knew her survival was a burden, and that only through her death could her son truly live freely. When little Mao wakes up, his mother has been respectfully processed. To honor them both, the eccentric doctor reserves a VIP spot on the skull tower for her. Suddenly, the Alpha from the previous day returns. The doctor quickly takes little Mao into the cellar, but the Alpha manages to grab the doctor. Fortunately, in the critical moment, little Mao grabs a tranquilizer dart and fights back. With the crisis temporarily averted, it's time for little Mao to leave. However, after experiencing the outside world, he no longer wishes to return to his father not to come looking for him. The world is vast, and he wants to explore it. One has to admit, this kid's thought process is something else. He brings back a baby without even knowing if it's infected, and going on, he grows. When faced with Alpha attacks, he can now escape calmly. He even encounters a mysterious breakdancing group, a street dance crew, who effortlessly take out a horde of zombies and enthusiastically invite him to join them. They are the Rovers his father mentioned, the ones who hanged the man with the leader's name carved into him. Will little Mao become one of them? It seems we'll have to wait for the sequel to find out. The story temporarily ends here. 28 years later is planned as a reboot and the first film in a new trilogy. There was even talk of inviting Cillian Murphy, the lead actor from 2002's 28 Days Later, to join the cast. Back then, Murphy was a newcomer with only 2 years in the industry. Fragmented. After watching the entire film, I think it could be renamed The Reckless Kid Drags His Mom on a Suicide Mission. And I mean that literally. The protagonist practically walks into trouble, dragging everyone down with him. He burns the village's bone storage, gets a good soldier killed, accelerates his mother's death, and brings a potentially infected baby back to the village. His series of reckless actions leaves one speechless. At this point, all we can hope is that the island reinstates the college entrance exams. It's worth noting that some might not have realized. The movie was filmed using an iPhone 15 Pro Max with additional photography attachments, making it the most expensive smartphone film production to date. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like to show your support. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to do so now to stay updated with more exciting content. Welcome to Subscribe. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe.